almost invariably, if it's written by a professor, I'm not going to read it. I know I'm going to isolate a lot of people. I'm going to alienate many when I say what I'm about to say. It's going to be a brief message, but I think it's a powerful one nonetheless. So, the first thing that makes obvious sense is that just about anyone and everybody in the world has something of value to offer. Everyone has something of value to offer. I understand that. And we're going to learn from everything and anything. Recently, I came across a website. I keep trying to work out if I should just give you the name or not. But I think I'm going to. Just why not, right? It's called Academics. It's a site where you go and you download a lot of treatises, information, theses, all sorts of academically sponsored documentation, academically sponsored documentation, academia-sponsored documentation. And I mean it when I say this, that I was astounded. At first I thought it was a treasure trove. But as I got to read the documents, I started to realize these people haven't even read what they're talking about. I'm going to admit that a lot of it has to do with the Christian faith. And I was intrigued to find out if academics had made any advances in the area of trying to understand, all of the, especially eschatology, end times. Do they know anything that I don't know? Is there anything that I'm going to glean, that I'm going to gather from reading their documents? Only to realize, no, they don't have anything of value to say. Nothing. In fact, for the most part, they don't know anything. It's not even accurate. It's almost like they've made there's a discussion, a biblical discussion, about some book of the Bible, but they haven't gone actually and read it. They haven't even read it. They may have read some verses, but it was almost one of these, this thing should have been handed over on a Friday at 12. They didn't have much time. They started writing it on Thursday. They realized they actually had no time to read Psalms or Revelation or whatever it was, and they just quickly threw it together with a lot of waffle. And I was shocked. I was really shocked. And then I started to realize that they were citing books that didn't even relate to what they were saying. For instance, there was a treatise that was written regarding the end times. And they were quoting a variety of sources. And some of these sources included Ellen G. White. And I'm thinking, hold on, stop. That's false prophecy stuff. That is a false prophet. That, there's nothing of value there. This is, they don't understand that that's heretical works. And then they were quoting Mormonism. And I'm thinking, is this for serious? Is this real? No, it wasn't real. It wasn't serious at all. They just didn't get it. In fact, they lumped everything together. They didn't make any distinction between what we all know to be false teachings and what we know to be the truth. I was astounded. I was really astounded that sometimes academics just actually don't know. They don't know at all, and they're the blind leading the blind because people take them seriously. I was shocked. Suffice it to say, when it comes to anything, I'm not just talking about theological, about anything really, they don't really know. Most of the people that, how many times have you heard of professors stealing from their students? How many times have you heard from students stealing from each other? How many times have you heard of, and these days they got much better. They're much better at it. I'm shocked. Go ahead. Pilfering of each other's documentation has been taken to a whole new level. It's no longer plagiarism. It's now It's now like super sophisticated because they're using computers, they're using algorithms, they're using computers that can rephrase lines and sentences, and they don't make any sense. It's a little bit like music produced by a computer. Doesn't make sense. Sounds okay. Sounds a little bit like what I heard back in the period of the Renaissance when it comes to music of that era, but it's completely not. It's like pointless music. And it's the same with what's being written. Somebody developed a piece of software which basically said openly that, if you need an essay written, we can get that essay written for you in 5 minutes. It's going to take you 2 minutes to send us what you have, and it'll take us 2 minutes to send it back to you. And the minute in between is the minute that the computer is writing your entire 33,000 page essay. 33,000 word essay. The computer just sucks it all in, processes it, and spews it out the other side. And you have to kind of read it and just make sure that it's kind of grammatically okay and that it's all sort of making sense, and add a few words. But ultimately, there it is. There's your essay. It's been done, and it's cost you $40. And yeah, that's the extent of where academia is sitting right now. Do we trust what professors and doctors are saying? Well, I don't know. None of the good stuff's coming out of there. Nothing that is, I would say, good, revolutionary, cutting edge. Yes, now and again, there's a professor that's got something to say. And I've had many of these kinds of recordings where I've gone and just whacked them because they really aren't that good. I went through university, and I'll never forget twice. I'll never forget that I was astoundedly shocked, surprised by how unable to think these so-called learned people are. And I've always had bad experiences with people in states of higher education. For whatever reason, they just don't do the thing properly. They have no clue, no concept of anything. And yes, they can, they can re-spew what they've read. They can tell you what they have read. And to a degree, they can actually simplify some of the things that they've learned. But they haven't learned it in experience. They've learned it theoretically. They're book smart, but they're not experience smart. And that shocks me because, I love knowledge, but I also realize how important it is to put knowledge to work, to make it valuable. Otherwise, you're stuck. You're just in the same boat as they are. A friend of mine got excited because she said, I'm going back to college. I'm so excited. It's actually university, but it's taught by a college because people can't meet right now. They're stuck in lockdowns and crazy stuff, learning online. And she was saying to me that she has to spend 6 hours, listen to this, 6 hours a day on a computer, on a screen, to answer questions and all kinds of things because she's having an online class or online classes, 6 hours a day, plus a minimum of 6 hours to read, 6 hours of reading per day. That's 12 hours. What about the rest of your life? She's got no time for anything right now. No time. She has no time to exercise. She has no time to do the things she really loves doing. She was doing things with little birds. She was going out on long walks along the beach and thinking, and none of that. She's not allowed any of that because her entire day is eaten up doing her academics. Now, here's the thing. Have a look. Have a look at the academics that she is doing. So she sent it to me. I didn't ask her. She just sent me her entire schedule. She sent me her books, her timetable, the assignments. She sends me everything. She's she knows I've studied law and I've studied psych and I've studied history and I've studied English. And her interest is so much in, and she's over east. She's not in Perth. She's not in Western Australia, which is where I've where I'm located. But, in the past, of course, I've traveled extensively, especially to in and around Australia, but Asia, etc., Africa, Europe, but stuck, right? Everybody's stuck right now. And nobody wants to travel off, find themselves completely stuck, and then they can't get back unless they get the vaccine, the dreaded V. So the world is sitting in a space of hiatus as we wait for things to become, there's a term for it, to enter into boiling point. That's the simple term. To reach critical mass, which is what I was going to say. But we're stuck. We're all stuck. Now, back to education. When I look at what she's studying, I'm shocked how bad it is, how terrible. The syllabus is awful. But without that, she can't get into the industry that she's getting into. I'm not going to be specific about the industry because it's just going to, people are just going to immediately know who I'm talking about, because most people who know me know a lot of my friends too. So, but yeah, she's stuck and she's learning things that are of no consequence in the world, zero consequence. And in fact, the very thing she's studying is what she has actually been doing for a very long time without the credentials, but she's been doing it and she's been making money doing it. And I said to her, why are you doing this thing that you were doing before and doing well and making money? And she goes, well, I need to get, I need people to take me seriously. I need them to, especially if I'm going to be working for a government agency. And I said, well, I get it. I understand. I really do. I really do get where you're coming from. I understand the vitality of your desire to keep studying. You can't just sit and degenerate. You can't just sit and vegetate into nothing. You have to keep doing things. I get it. I understand. I've been studying maritime law for quite a while now. It's this very long-winded thing. I stretched it out credit by credit because I realized it's going to take me such a long time to do this. If I do it full-time, between 4 years and 5 perhaps. But I'm going to stretch this out. And, well, I've been at it for a while now. I'm going to be honest. I like knowing. It's great to know. Maritime law is an amazing subject on so many levels. I've gotten to understand the world so much better. But at the same time, I've also come to realize that the profs, the doctors, the people that are supposed to be teaching you don't know anything. They really aren't able to handle it. And it's sad because you're sitting in a room with them, that they don't know, and they know that they don't know, and it's scary. You're sitting in this very uncomfortable, that was uncomfortable, sitting in there with them. I've had that experience quite a few times, and I'm shocked. It's awkward, really awkward, because there's this part of me, and I was there this morning in one of the lecture halls. I was there with one of my profs, and the barriers, the boundaries, that there's nothing you can say around that subject that can't be out of a book, because if it's not related to a book that you've read or they've read, trust me, they have no real opinion about it, and they've got the standardized government dished out opinion. There it is. That's what you've been fed, and that's what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. And they're terrified. A lot of these profs, even if they could think outside of the square, they probably wouldn't say anything because it hasn't been customized for them. And if it gets out that they believe that, they're out of a job. They can't afford that. They've got mortgages. They've got car payments. They've got a semblance of security, which is fascinating. Anyway, I'm back to my strategy, which is to continue to accumulate cash into a several different deposit accounts, safe deposit accounts. Keep building the requirements that are, whatever it is that you need to buy property. And where possible, lots of the time, buy up these $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 blocks and houses. If they've got a house, even better. And rent them out, even better. Positively geared, even better. But keep buying these things, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 properties. Cash, just buy them cash, right? Pay the stamp duties, do whatever it takes, get the property. And accumulate these, 4 or 5, 6, 7, 10 of these. Let them all appreciate over time. It's almost like having, 6 or 7 or 8 or 10 superannuation accounts. And at the end of that period, sell them all. Get rid of all of them, or borrow against every single one of them. But the way I see it is just sell them all and buy one property. Buy a property. Yeah, they've got that one ironed out too. In terms of CGT, they know capital gains tax you're going to be paying coming out of your ears if you keep selling them, so don't sell them. Borrowing against them is not a bad idea because it means that you don't pay any excessive amounts to foreign parties that you don't necessarily favor in terms of their... So you really are in that situation where you have to kind of figure things out for yourself in this world. And the academic world has no answers. No answers at all. So here I am, busy at the moment. And I had to cull some of my... There's a whole new 2-3 boxes of books that have come in. And I'm going to read some of them. I'm going to keep some of these others. There's about 10 atlases here, which are incredible. I've got an atlas here that shows pieces of land and land masses and coastlines that are not like that anymore. They've all changed, It's almost like they've gone in and added land and done all sorts of things while we were sleeping. These are not that old. These world atlases go back to the early 1900s. And when you see some of this, you're going to go, that's not what it looks like. There's no satellites and satellites. There's none of that, right? So how are we, back then, how were they supposed to know? Well, man, you got to see some of these atlases. The point is this, there's a lot of books in here that are written by profs and doctors. And that was such an easy cull. All I did was anything written by a doctor or a prof, I've just put it on one side and chucked it back in the box. Not even interested. I'm serious. Not even interested. Why? Years and years, decades of learning that profs know nothing. Nada. Nothing. No value. Are they of any value in the world? Well, I don't know. Are they? I don't know yet. I'm still trying to work out if they are. Final story. Gentleman out of the blue, some time ago, contacted me and he said he wanted me to help him turn one of his books or theses or whatever into a book. Every time I use the word theses, I think of feces, as in the word, because it's so gross and makes me realize they're of no value. Anyway, he gave me his book and he said to me, first of all, he was very cagey. Didn't want to give the book. It took 3 years of back and forth contact. He could not make any choices, any decisions, took no action. But eventually gave me the book. He contacted me, day in, day out for about 3 weeks. And he said, look, I'm sorry about my, messing around the last few years, but I made a decision. It's time for you to see it. I said, sure, whatever. Just send it. I didn't say whatever, bad attitude, but send it. He sent it. I had a look at it and I thought, this is a man in his 70s. I'm sure I'm going to learn something. And the book had an intriguing title. It really did have an intriguing title. I should probably find it and maybe even read you an extract, but I don't think I'm going to because of copyright issues, etc. However, picked it up and I thought, you know what, I'll read some of it. I'll get a feeling of it just to see if it's, what the big deal was. Like, why hide it for so long? So I started to do that. And as I was reading, I started to say to myself, this is interesting. This is really, really interesting, because I can't seem, genuinely, I can't seem to figure out where his thoughts are going. They were very bitsy, like nothing, he was breaking all the rules in a bad way. Sometimes you can break all the rules in a great way. But he was breaking all the rules in a really bad way, as in, hold on a minute, you don't write like this. He hasn't captured my attention. There's no opening that's made me go, whoa, this is awesome. He hasn't made me feel intrigued, like I really want to keep reading the story. And yes, I think I was coming at it from a very biased perspective. I already had very bad experiences with academics, people in the world of academia, which means triviality. And I kind of thought, well, I had a filter. I did. But as I started to read this, I genuinely thought, this is really bad. This is like really bad. I don't think anyone is even going to be interested in reading this. Anyway, I did go into it. I did read 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, into each chapter, just to really assess it. And I realized there was nothing. I learned nothing from it, except that whoever wrote this, him, I knew, didn't really have a clue. And a lot of what he was saying came from a place where most writers just should never come from. This place of, I know it all, you don't. And I basically said to him, look, and it really very much was because of the experience that I'd had with him before, where he wasn't taking any action. He was very academic in his approach about everything. And it just made me feel this is going to be way too much work. It's going to be too hard for my peace of mind. It's probably not worth it. Much more hassle than I can make this worth my while. And I just said, no, we're not going to do this one. I'm sorry. And that was it. And I felt really good about it, because I thought, man, when is academia going to get their act together?